In this lecture, we will be learning how to create custom commands using Cypress. What we mean by the custom commands. These are called custom commands, but basically these are the other name as the methods that you are pretty much familiar with. Or in your framework in the future, you can see in the framework they are calling them helpers. The Cypress has its very unique and very interesting way of creating a methods, and uh, with this way it has really good benefits actually. So let's get deep dive into this custom commands. So we will see how to build this custom commands in Cypress. We will be exploring these types of custom commands, and we will be deep diving into command implementation. So building the custom commands in Cypress. So Cypress commands allow you to create custom functionality and even override existing commands. So what we mean by that? So basically having this flexibility is incredibly convenient and powerful, but developers often struggle with when to write a custom commands. So the helpful thing that about when you should write your custom command is when your test code forces you to do so. So what we mean by that? Actually, when you notice yourself writing the same functionality repeatedly across multiple tests, imagine that from our tests, if you go to our framework, if you mention that we are always calling these two commands again and again, right? Or like if we check like all of our tests, we are always visiting the tech global. We are always clicking on some page name, right? So from this one, for example, this is a repetitive code. So instead, we can create a method for this one. So we can just do this in one line. So if you mention that you are repeating yourself, it is always a good idea to create a command. So we already did this a lot of time in the JavaScript, each time when we create a custom function in our code. So typically we will create a custom command JavaScript function to abstract some functionality to reuse within our application. An example, utility functions. We have some utility folder, and that is where we provide our commands. So Cypress commands are the pretty much same thing. They allow us to reuse functionality across multiple browsers. So in Cypress, we create these custom commands inside the support folder in command.js. If you guys remember at the beginning of our very first videos, we have discussed that we have this support folder, and this support folder has this two files inside. One is the command.js and another one is the end-to-end.js. So this command.js is the place where we create our functions, actually like Cypress methods, let's say. So it is important to understand that these two files in your framework always executes right before your tests. Okay? You always need to remember that. So that is why creating a commands in this file giving us a flexibility that it is also going to import in your framework without importing the function itself. So there are types of custom commands. So there are four types, but we don't use the dual commands too much. But what we care about the parent commands, child commands, and overriding the existing command. So what I mean by the parent command in here. So parent commands always begin a new chain of command. Even if you chain it of a previous command, parent commands will always start a new chain and ignore previously yielded subject. So what we mean by that? So basically, what we mean by that in here, let's just create a new file and let's just name it 06 underscore customcommands.cy.js, and let's just create the script block. And inside, let's create our individual test block, and let's say parent command. So for example, any command that you call with the cy object is the parent command. What is that? For example, cy.visit is a parent command, or cy.get is a parent command, or what could it be? cy. For example, contains is a parent command. But also imagine the other one. Let's say click, right? So you can ask yourself, are we calling the click method in Cypress with cy, or we are chaining with its subject? So we never call this click this way, right? This is not a proper implementation because this click doesn't know its subject, and its subject cannot be cy. Its subject should be this locator, right? So we can click. So for example, this cy click is a child command, or cy.type. I mean, not cy.type, of course. I mean, if you go to, like, for example, the child commands, right? For example, click in here. Right now, it will work perfect because it's going to yield the subject that we provide inside this web element, or type, or any other command that we are chaining. This is important to understand. So the ones that we are calling with cy object directly, it yields as a parent command, and the one that we chain with the other commands is called child commands. So, and Cypress has its, as I said, has its unique way to creating a command. So what I mean by that, basically, with the help of the Cypress, we can create a command, and we can call this command without importing in here by just saying, for example, cy dot, for example, let's say I name my command, just imagine that. So this command is going to call with the cy object directly. So this is pretty much unique way. Why I say that, because we don't need to import our methods, right? We don't need to call our methods. We don't need to do like export, import. So directly we can just call it with the cy.command. And when we do this, like, it's also providing us a chainability too. So let's see an example what we can do with that. Oh, by the way, let's just also discuss this one. So child commands, as I say, the child commands are the one that are yielding their object, like click, type, and etc. We can also create a child command too. And the overriding the existing command, we can override any Cypress existing method with this overriding the existing command. So let's deep dive into this parent command. So imagine that you want to create a parent command, as I give you an example in here. And on this parent command, you want to click a specific label, okay, or specific locator. So this is a standalone command that doesn't rely on any previous command in the Cypress chain. It starts a new chain of command by cy object. So essentially, you define its logic and functionality from scratch. So that functionality we don't override, we don't manipulate, we just create a whole new functionality. So let's see, and let's create one. So we will going to create our commands in here, and you can see this is a parent command, for example. Cypress already create one, and let's just do it together. So I will just go below, and let's see the syntax. So all the command creating process in Cypress is pretty much similar syntax. So the syntax we follow is always Cypress dot commands. Then after we just say add. So there is pretty much interesting way in here. So what I mean by that? So the interesting way is basically we are the argument that we provide inside this add is then actually going to be your command name. What I mean by that is basically this first argument that you will provide will be your command name. So you will call it with cy.clickLink. So let's say I want to create a function that is always clicking some specific link, right? Maybe I'm clicking that link like so many times. That's why I want to do this. So first, what we need to do, we need to create a callback in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide this callback, let's say my link, okay? And in here, I want to create this command that is always clicking this. What we can click on this one. Let's say, let's just go to our web page. let's go to front end page and HTML elements. Let's say we always want to click this register button. First, let's see how we can locate this register button. This register button is inside this button, right? So we can get by the div text. So what I can do, cy.get, let's say div. Then from here, contains, what is that? Register. But of course, let's say we want to make it dynamic. So we want to click anything. Because if I say register, it's going to always click register. But I want to be able to dynamically click register or sign in. But that's why I'm going to provide this argument in here. Then I will just going to click this. So right now, we just created a method in Cypress from scratch. So I will just take this one and put it in here. This is what it should be. I'll remove this one. So I will save this one. So let's say we are going to visit our Tech Global website. cy.visit, and I want to go this page, and I want to click on this HTML elements. And let's see how this works. So what I'm gonna do, this is the beautiful thing about the Cypress. As I say, we don't need to import and export this function or method that we created. If I just do cy.visit, I'm sorry, like if I just do cy dot then click link, this is going to represent the function that we created. And we just need to provide the, as we created from here, if you remember, this is going to provide the argument that we want to click, right, depending on the visible text. And let's say I want to click the register button. So I will just say register. So let's see if it's working. Let's open our test runner. As you can see, we already clicked on register. Let's imagine I want to click on sign in. So all I need to do is change my argument and this time click on sign in. Just give the name wrong. It should be lowercase in. So as you can see, we clicked the sign in. So this is pretty much straightforward and easy to understand. So parent commands, as I say, the commands that we are directly calling with cy. We don't chain with any other methods in the Cypress. Now let's see how we use the child command. So as I told you, child commands are the commands that you need to chain with the its previous subject. So cy.visit, for example, it's a parent command, right? So you cannot do something like this. cy.get, let's say, element.visit. I mean, this will show valid. If you just hover over, it will show you that this command works. But it doesn't make sense because you cannot visit the element, right? So visit is a parent command. So you cannot chain with the other commands. But child commands needs to yield their subjects, just like click, or just like type, right? Or maybe check, or maybe find. So these commands need to yield their subjects. I mean, there are also some commands actually, like these are the actual dual type of the Cypress commands, but those are not very common. But some commands are also you can create, they can also yield to their object, or their subject, just like a contains, right? We can use contains this way too, or we can use contains this way too, right? So for example, contains is a dual command that can be called with the CY object directly, or can be chained after the method, after its subject. So again, let's see what we can do with this child command. So the way of creating a child command is a little bit different than a little bit different than what you have seen on the parent command, because syntax is a little bit different. So if you want to create a, let's say, the parent command, the child command, so the syntax is going to be changed. So let's just say this is a parent command. So let's say I want to create a child command. Let's say this is a child command. So what I will do is basically I will first follow the same syntax, commands, then I will say add, then in add I'm going to provide the name of my function. Let's say log text. So we are going to get a text of the web element. Then what you need to do, you have to provide an option in here. So if you want to make this command a child command, all you need to do is you have to say previous subject true. So when you give this option in Cypress, you are basically saying that, hey, this command is going to be the this command is going to be the child command. And after that, what we will do, we are just provide our subject that we want to get text of it. Then what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to put comma, and I'm going to provide my subject as a callback. Let's say subject, and I will just create my function. So from here, if you want, we can also make it more readable. We can just take this one in here, and after that we can just call our subject, and inside all we need to do is, let's say we want to get the text of it, right? So how we will get the text of it with the jQuery? So all I need to do is, let's say const text, and let's say subject dot text. So by this I'm going to return the text of my object, and let's say I want to print this object, console.log, and let's say my text is text. Then after, all I'm going to do is just return subject. So right now the command that we created is going to get the text of the web element that it's yielding. So we're gonna call this one with the cy.get. And what I want to do, I want to go and get the text of this, let's say HTML element section, right? Main heading. We can just get this one. So I will just do cy.get, then my main heading. Then right after this one, all I'm going to do is just say log text. So right now we expect to see this one in the log. Alright, we have a problem on this command. Let's see. Oh, this should be string, by the way. Not like this. I'll just save it. Because we have naming issue in here. Yep, it's working as expected, but of course we need to use not console log, cy.log it should be, so we can see it in our log. Right, we are getting h1 main heading. It's proper. Let's just do it with the console. I will just check the console. Yep, you see my text is HTML elements. It is working as expected. I will just rerun the test again to see it. Alright, it is working as expected. Let me just try something else. Maybe this return would be the issue. Yep, I think the return was the issue. Because the thing is, like as we mentioned before, Cypress commands are not tend to return right. They have to yield their subjects. And we are getting like my text is HTML elements, which is what we expected. It is working as we expected. As I say, if you want to make sure that it's going to be the child command, you all need to just provide this option, which is previous subject true. This will say that, hey, this command is going to be the child command. So after this one, all we need to do is just let's see how to override the existing command. So we also have seen this child command. This is what we have done. As I say, like return is not proper in here because since we don't expect Cypress commands to return their subjects. So override existing command. So basically, the overriding the existing command that we are providing the command. Let's say overriding existing command. It means that let's say we have a command that we want to overwrite. So I'm just going to get this one and create another individual test block, and let's say overriding existing command. And let's say I want to overwrite this front end, for example, right, or the cy.visit. Let's overwrite this command as we have in our example. So again, our syntax is going to be Cypress.commands, but this time we are not going to use add. What we will do is basically we will use this override. So this override is going to help us to override the existing function in Cypress. So let's see how we use this one. So first you have to provide the name of the function that you want to override. Let's say which is the visit in our condition. So what we want to do with this visit, then we have to provide its values in it. So what kind of argument it will take, which in our case it will take the URL, because this is the what function gets, right? So first of all, our first argument should be, let's say, original visit. And this is the original visit command. This is the original one that we are just mentioning in here. And our URL that we will provide. And if you want, you can provide the options too. Let's just keep it because we will see why this options is important. We will see the timeouts. We will see why this option is important. Because if you don't give this one, first, you are not going to override the existing command properly. Second, if you want to provide an option, let's say I want to make sure that this visit will wait not 4 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. So we are going to block that. So that's why it's always safe to keep it in there. By the way, when we see the timeouts, we will understand how we use them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my arrow function. Then in this one, I'm going to provide my, let's say, our URL. Okay, let's say cy. No, actually, like let's say const. Let's say URL with path. Then from here, it's going to get let's say our URL, and after this URL, it is going to visit the web page front end. So from here, all I'm going to do is return original visit, then it will be URL with path, then options. So what I do is basically, whenever I call my URL, it will going to implicitly provide this front end at the end. So we don't need to do it anymore again and again. So just providing tech global main website URL will be enough for us from now on. So let's see how we will use this. So I'm just going to, but of course our other tests gonna fail because as you can see, we are on the wrong page. Let's just fix it. So we will just checking like the click and front end, right? We don't need this click anymore because it's going to go always automatically to front end page. I'm just gonna remove this one. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not gonna click this one. It's just gonna go to front end without this providing this front end because we provide it in our custom command. So in the custom command, we are overriding this visit command. So from now on, we don't need to provide this front end because it will come implicitly. So let's run and see. As you can see, without clicking the front end, it directly goes to front end. You see the front end in here? No, because it is coming from our custom command by default, because we overrided the visit custom command. So I have more example in here. For example, what else you can do? Let's say you have a test, right? It's always providing the same argument again and again. So instead you can just create a custom command which is gonna make it much more cleaner. Whenever you say like sign up first name, it's gonna call this one. Whenever you say like sign up last name, it's gonna call this one. You can even make this one much more dynamic. What I mean by that, you can just always call this custom command to yeah, which is actually that's what we did in here. Like sign up, and depending on your argument, it will just going to interact with that label. So we have more example, and in our next lectures, we are going to use custom commands a lot. So this is everything is about the custom commands. So thank you very much for your time. See you in next lecture.